Welcome to South Asia Today, a show that provides you the glimpses of South Asia. I am your host Yeshi. Here are the headlines. Baloch activists living abroad hold protest against Pakistan for 1998 nuclear tests. People in crisis-hit Sri Lanka continue to face problems. And female climbers in Nepal pledge to summit all 14 peaks of the world's 800-meter peaks. Let's begin the show. In May 1998, Pakistan conducted 5 simultaneous underground nuclear tests at Rasko Hills in Chagai district of Balochistan province. The Chagai region of Balochistan continues to suffer due to disastrous after effects of nuclear tests. Baloch political activists living abroad are holding protest against Pakistan to demand the international community to put restrictions on Pakistan's nuclear weapons. We have a report.
A series of nuclear tests were conducted on May 28, 1998 by Pakistan in Balochistan's Chagai district. The tests were done just in haste as no requisite drill and ground realization was done, resulting into the destructions of generations in the region. It has not only caused a series of damage to flora and fauna, but the radioactivity has affected the soil of the area. The generation of Chagai in Balochistan have developed genetic abnormalities. The Baloch political activists living in Europe have conducted anti-Pakistan protests to demand international community to ban Pakistan's nuclear weapons. The Free Balochistan movement marks the day as Yawm-e-Asrokh, or a day of sorrow, and holds Pakistan responsible for committing a war crime for deliberately choosing Balochistan to test the nuclear bomb.
We stand here to protest against the nuclear tests conducted by the Pakistani army in Rasko district, Chagai, Balochistan on 28 May 1998. It is common among the colonizers to destroy and exploit the colonized nations and their land mercilessly, despite having a vast land in Punjab.
The Balochistan exists in this universe where fascist states like Pakistan carried out nuclear blasts against the international laws. Ladies and gentlemen, the Geneva Convention Protocol in 1977 prohibits acts or attacks on civilians and methods of warfare which are intended or may be anticipated to cause widespread for long term and serve damage to the natural environment.
In Amsterdam, the Baloch National Movement distributed pamphlets to raise awareness about nuclear tests in Chagai. The demonstrators were holding placards and banners highlighting the severe impact of nuclear radiation in Balochistan aftermath nuclear tests. A huge number of local people were attracted and expressed their concern and solidarity to the people of Balochistan against nuclear tests by Pakistan.
People of Chagai area are suffering several health hazards, diseases and other issues. We appeal to the international community by our protests that they should curb the nuclear program of Pakistan. Pakistan is a terrorist state and lethal atomic bombs in control of Pakistan is a looming threat to the entire world.
The Baloch political activists also raised the issue of human rights violations in Balochistan by Pakistan Army. They highlighted concern about enforced disappearances in the province and said the silence of the international community and civilized world on the ongoing human rights situation in Balochistan was emboldening repressive state like Pakistan to continue the human rights violations and to suppress the Baloch voices for freedom.
Another week into the Sri Lankan economic crisis, and there is no light appearing at the end of the tunnel. With a severe shortage of foreign exchange severely curtailing imports including essentials such as medicines, homes don't have fuel to cook food. From transportation woes to skyrocketing inflation, it appears that every single sector in the island nation has come to a halt. Take a look.
Police fired tear gas and water cannon to disperse protesters, bringing down barricades protecting the official residence of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa in Sri Lanka. Thousands protest across the island to mark 50 days since the start of nationwide protests demanding the president's resignation. People walked from several parts of the capital Colombo to the permanent protest site opposite the president's office.
අපිට පැහැදිලි වෙනවා ජනතාවට තවදුරටත් බොරු කතා කියලා වැරදි කතා කියලා මේ නැගලා එන මේ විරෝධතාවය නවත්තන්න රජයට බෑ කියන එක. රජය මේ ජනතාව කියන්නේ මොකක්ද කියලා ඒවට අහුම්කම් දීලා ඒ අවශ්‍ය විසඳුම් දෙන්න ඕනේ.
The island nation has been facing fuel shortages as it combats a tough and dilapidating economic crisis. In these low times, Lasanda Deepati, one of the earliest female tuk-tuk drivers in Sri Lanka, has been dealing with a tough time while standing in queues outside petrol stations. Life in itself has dealt a couple of tough hands for the 43-year-old. Her father passed away when she was 14, leaving her to take care of her family. Married at 21, her husband then left her, leaving her to raise their daughter alone. However, it was initially tough to jostle with male drivers for regular customers, but once she signed up with local ride-hailing app PickMe, life became much easier. However, things have become increasingly tougher ever since an unparalleled economic crisis hit Sri Lanka.
මේකත් එක්ක ගොඩක් වෙලාවට පොලිමට වැඩිපුර වෙලාවක් යොදවලා තියෙන දවසේ ගොඩක් කලින් නැගිටලා ගෙදර වැඩ ටික ඔක්කොම ඉවර කරලා ඊට පස්සේ මේ පොලිම යනවා පොලිමට රෑ ආවොත් රෑට නිදා ගන්න වෙන්නේ මේකේ තමයි ටුක් එක ඇතුලේ තමයි නිදා ගන්න අපි. ලා මේ පොලිමේ ඉඳලා තමයි වැඩ ගන්නේ. එතකොට අපි ඒක බැලන්ස් කරන්න පැය ගාන වැඩිපුර දීලා තියෙන්නේ queue එකට තමයි.
Sri Lanka has also lately witnessed a bicycle parade in the capital Colombo, demanding President Gotabaya Rajapaksa resignation, and Parliament passed laws to remove the executive presidency. However, the scenes emerging on the streets of Sri Lanka speak contrary, as demonstrations against the Gotabaya administration are only intensifying with a long and loud chorus of Go Gotabaya, Go Gotabaya.
All of us feel that not having a very independent and a transparent constitution and governance is one of the main reasons for the pathetic situation that we are facing today with economic bankruptcy and political anarchy.
As Sri Lanka continues to face economic turbulence, the World Bank said it will disburse nearly $700 million to the island nation in the next few months. Neighboring India has committed more than $3 billion to debt-ridden Sri Lanka in loans, credit lines and credit swaps since January this year to help the island nation. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also assured Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa of fertilizer supplies to help the country avert severe food shortages caused by crop losses.
Moving on, climbing to the world's highest peaks is a dream of every serious climber. Today, we meet some female climbers who have created history after successfully climbing 6 mountains above 8,000 meters in height. They now quest to summit all 14 peaks of the world's 8,000-meter peaks.
26-year-old photojournalist turned mountaineer Purnima Shrestha from Gorkha in Nepal became the first in her profession to climb 6 mountains above 8,000 meters high in the Himalayan nation. Similarly, Christine Harila from Norway, who is on a mission to climb all 14 peaks above 8,000 meters in a shorter time, achieved nearly half of her target by successfully climbing 6 mountains in 24 days. Both the alpinists were welcomed at Kathmandu Tribhuvan International Airport. Christine has already climbed Mount Annapurna on April 28, Dholagiri on May 8, Kanchenjunga on May 14, Everest and Lhotse on May 22 and Makalu on May 27. With these expeditions, she has set a record of fastest climber to scale 6 mountains in just 29 days. Christine now plans to visit Pakistan to climb Mount K2 and all the 14 peaks within 6 months, registering herself as the first woman to do so.
The plan is to do all 14. So we are going to Pakistan in some days, and then 6 months.
Nepalese mountaineer Purnima Shrestha also continues to set records every year despite having hurdles at every step. Last year, she became the first Nepali woman to stand atop Mount Dhaulagiri, world's 8th highest peak.
अब मेरो लागि यो एकदम सरप्राइज नै हो मेरो किनभने डिफ्रेन्ट प्रोफेसनबाट आएको हो यो माउन्टेन चाहिँ मेरो थिएन हैन त्यही भएर पनि मलाई चाहिँ एकदमै मेरो आफ्नो लाइफमा मेरो आफ्नो एकदम ठुलो उपलब्धि हो मेरो
Hundreds of climbers flock each year to Nepal to scale Himalayan peaks during the spring season, which begins around the beginning of March and ends in June.
Now we take a look at some happenings in Asia in a segment called Asia Watch.
Growing up in a war-torn Afghanistan has taken an enormous toll on the nation's children, with many needing to work to survive, thus ending their dreams of education. The problem is particularly acute for children who lost family members during decades of war, as they have now become principal breadwinners for their devastated families. 15-year-old Rahmatullah has to work day and night at a brick kiln in the outskirts of Kabul, where his grueling labor make him a little more than $3 a day. Many children working at a brick kiln are just like Rahmatullah. Some are even younger than him, but still have to shoulder the burden of looking after their families. Child labor is a tragic consequence of the years of war and hardship faced by Afghans, and the situation has worsened since US and other Western troops withdrew in a chaotic fashion from Afghanistan in August last year, leaving the country broken and its children facing a bleak future. Residents across Spain are beginning to feel the pressure of increased living costs as the steep rise in energy prices brought by the Russia-Ukraine conflict began to bite. As the summer approaches, Spain is about to usher in the peak season in electricity consumption, with the soaring energy bills now adding an extra financial burden to every resident. The professor of economics, University of West Central University of Catalonia, Ferran Cole, said that Russia-Ukraine conflict has had a wide impact on many European countries, causing inflation, fiscal deficit and shortages in raw material supply, all of which has slowed down the economic recovery following the pandemic. Spain's inflation rate surged to 9.8% in March, the highest since 1985. Many residents have felt the rise in living expenses, especially in gas and electricity bills. Many are aware that the conflict between Russia and Ukraine is directly affecting them and hope for the situation to be resolved through peaceful negotiations. An automobile exhibition in Yokohama City focused on carbon-neutral automobiles and automobile manufacturing firms taking steps to curb carbon emissions. The efforts of two of the world's top automobile production companies, Toyota and Isuzu, attracted attention. Isuzu announced environmental vision and introduced efforts to develop fuel and electric vehicles and autonomous driving technology and the latest car. The world's leading Japanese car companies will contribute to the future automobile society through their carbon-neutral approach.
トヨタ自動車の方なんですけれど、カーボンニュートラルも今回一つのテーマとして重要視しておりまして、展示の方をさせていただいております。今回見ていただいてお分かりになりますように、電気を使った EV と、あと水素を使った燃料電池自動車の方の展示物の方をご紹介しております。カーボンニュートラルといっても今例えば EV であったりだとか電動車の方大変注目をされていると思うんですけれど、トヨタの方は電動車以外にもカーボンニュートラル燃料ということで、例えば e フューエルだとかそういった燃料の方でも CO2 を下げれるんじゃないかというふうに思っておりまして、トヨタとしては今選択肢を狭めないということで電動車も重要なんですけれど、その燃料の方カーボンニュートラル燃料の方の対応も重要だというふうには思っています。
This is a religious palanquin Mikoshi, a sacred shrine that is strolling through a crowd of spectators. The visitors are rejoiced to witness celebrations after the long pandemic break. For the first time in 3 years, 3 Mikoshis were carried out from Asakusa Shrine area. These sacred shrines are led by a musical band and lined up in a row. Originally, 1,000 carries crowded into one mikoshi, but to prevent infection, the number of carriers was limited to 100 by attaching tires to it. Nevertheless, many spectators gathered on the street to see the portable shrine touring the city for the first time in 3 years. Asakusa is one of the most popular tourism cities in Japan. It is crowded with foreign tourists because of housing famous attractions like Sensoji Temple, ancient sweet shops. However, due to the new coronavirus, the number of tourists coming to the city has decreased from 30% to 2%. The Nakamai shopping street in front of the Sensoji Temple grounds was also affected due to the pandemic. Asakusa Cultural Tourist Information Center is located across the road from Kamiramon. Its information staff also feel a positive movement of foreign tourists returning to Asakusa. At Asakusa Cultural Tourist Information Center, staff accommodate foreign visitors from all over the world, such as providing information in various languages at the reception desk. Japan hopes to revive inbound tourism by easing restrictions on the entry of foreign tourists.
To revive the age-old culture of Jammu and Kashmir and bring the younger generation closer to its roots, a 2-day cultural and craft festival was recently organized in Poonch. The event saw a wonderful mix of art, culture and heritage. Have a look.
Poonch got engulfed in vivid colours of joy and exuberance as thousands of locals and tourists visit the district to be a part of the 2-day cultural and craft festival. Organised by Jammu and Kashmir Academy of Art, Culture and Languages in association with District Administration, the event saw participation of around 200 artists from across the Union Territory. From Punjabi to Pahari dance forms, they presented a number of mesmerizing performances to spread cross-cultural awareness among the spectators. They even expressed their gratitude to the government for providing them with a chance to showcase their rich heritage.
फर्स्ट टाइम मैंने देखा यहाँ पे इतने सारे लोग, इतने सारा कल्चर, इतने सारे रंग यहाँ पे एकत्रित हुए हैं, तो बहुत बढ़िया लगा मुझे। ये जो गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से इतने सारे एफर्ट्स यहाँ पे लगाए हुए हैं, तो थैंक्स करना चाहूँगी यूटी का, गवर्नर साहब का, कि बार बार ऐसा हो, बार बार लोग इकट्ठे हों, आपस में मित्रता बढ़े, आपस में प्यार बढ़े, तो बहुत ही अच्छा लगा। यहाँ के दर्शक बहुत अच्छे हैं, यहाँ का जो माहौल है बहुत ही अच्छा, पीसफुल है, लोग बड़े प्यार से रहते हैं।
हमारे बहुत सारे डिफरेंट वॉक ऑफ लाइफ के साथ ताल्लुक़ रखने वाले हमारे लोग जो हैं, उन्होंने इस प्रोग्राम में हिस्सा लिया, यहाँ आए, उन्हें विटनेस किया ये प्रोग्राम। मैं ख़ास करके ये बताऊं कि इस प्रोग्राम का मकसद ये था कि हम अपनी भूली बिसरी जो यादें हैं, जो हमारी रवायत है, जो हमारी तहज़ीब है, हमारा कल्चर है, उसको रिवाइव करें, अपनी नई नस्लों तक बताएं उनको, भाई हमारा खाना, हमारा रहन सहन और हमारी तहज़ीब और तमद्दन क्या थी।
A local music show put up by a group of artists was another highlight of the event. Accompanied by musical instruments, their melodious voices brought the audience to the edge of their seats. Artists urged to have more such events on a regular basis so that their culture is promoted.
पूंछ की धरती पर बहुत अच्छे किस्म का प्रोग्राम हुआ है, बहुत दूर दूर से आर्टिस्ट आए और उन्होंने मनोरंजन किया और अच्छे किस्म से प्रोग्राम हुआ। बाहर पूंछ के लोग हमारे जितने भी थे, इन्होंने हमारे साथ तावन दिया और बहुत अच्छे किस्म से हमारा प्रोग्राम जो है वो हुआ है और जो बाकी बचा वो भी हो रहा है। तो हम ये चाहते हैं कि ऐसे प्रोग्राम बार बार होने चाहिए ताकि हमारा कल्चर जो है, पहाड़ी हो, गोजरी हो, जो भी मतलब ज़माने हमारे हैं, उनमें मुख्तलिफ रंगों रंग प्रोग्राम हो रहे हैं और ये मतलब हमारे जितने भी आर्टिस्ट हैं, इनका भी जो है इंटरेस्ट वो दिन ब दिन बढ़ता जा रहा है। तो हम ये यूटी के जितने भी लोग हैं, हम मशकूर हैं कि हमारा जो ये प्रोग्राम हुआ है, आने वाले कल भी हमारे प्रोग्राम इसी तरीके से होते रहें।
As a part of the event, small entrepreneurs, college students and officials from various departments including agriculture, horticulture, tourism, sheep husbandry and even youth services and sports erected their stalls. While those set up by the departments made people aware about various schemes and policies related to their respective sector, others left the visitors spoiled for choice. With such events organized on a regular basis, it will not just lead to the promotion of crafts and culture, but also connect the younger generation to its traditional roots.
It's time for me to wrap up today's episode. We will be back next week at the same time. This is Yeshi signing off on behalf of the entire production team of South Asia Today. Goodbye and take care.